I think that boils down to learn how to be uncomfortable in conversations, not so much confrontation, but in a way, being able to deal with something that you feel like is confrontation, having a hard conversation with a family member or friend or coworker. Um, Everybody can have the easy conversations, right? Hey, how's it going? Oh, yeah, happy birthday. Oh, great. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all that stuff. That's easy. But like you said, you see that person come in the door, you can tell they're a little off. Instead of shying away and just letting them go about their day, maybe spend a moment with them off to the side, ask them how they're really doing, and take time to listen and engage in that conversation.
Hello, welcome to Something for Everybody. My name is Aaron Mashvitz. Matt, Spin Doc, welcome back to the show.
What's up, buddy? It's good to be back.
It's great to have you back. A few changes since your last appearance on this show. You were on episode 116 when the podcast was named Jackson Talks Everybody. We've changed the name to Something for Everybody, and I'm pumped to have you back on. But on the last episode you were on, I gave you the last question, the billboard question. And you said you needed some time to think about it.
I don't know if I thought much about it.
So I've given you plenty of time. What do you have for me? Do you remember the billboard question?
No, you're going to have to ask it again. The podcast has changed, new name. Throw that question back out there. Let's go.
All right. So I asked you if you were going to put up a billboard and millions of people were to see that billboard every single day, what would you put on that billboard?
Why do you got to ask this as the very beginning, the intro to the podcast, man? It's like, that should be the very end or somewhere in the middle.
That was the very end of the last episode you were on.
Man, you know what? I think the biggest thing I've tried to go in, at least with the new year, and I'm not a big resolution guy, but right now I would say be generous with your time. I've found that to be, because when you get asked to do something by a friend or a coworker or something like that, if it's not something you immediately want to do, that's super important to you, right? You have your other motivations and reasons why you might not want to hop in and help out or do something for somebody else. But I found that after the fact, being more generous with my time comes out to benefit me in the long run, both personally, with just like my spiritual being, how I feel, whether we're working on a project, it could be financially, work related, whatever, but be generous with your time. Short and simple. It can mean a lot of things, and you can interpret it how you want. That's what I'd put up there right now.
Be generous with your time.
Generous with your time. I guess you could say towards others, directing towards helping others, spending time with others, loved ones, maybe helping somebody out that you just met, taking a moment to really listen to somebody, get to know them, hear their story, whatever that may be. You'd be a little less selfish going forward with your time. So, I'm a pretty selfish guy, Aaron. I don't know if you remember, I've had some of those selfish moments in the past. And I think when you reflect back on that, it hurts a little bit when you don't spend that extra moment with somebody, and they can tell too. They can feel it when you're rushing through a conversation or rushing through an interaction. Being more generous with that, your ability to connect and just spend time with them is important. So,
yeah, I feel similar in that regard to sort of this selfishness.
Yeah,
because you and I sort of acted quite similar when it came to our college experience.
I agree.
But then I talked to like my friends that I still have from that experience, from college, from South Dakota State, and they were able to get to know a version of me that I didn't really portray to the masses, right? Because we sort of wanted to put on a persona.
True.
Or whatever the case may be. And so I've always known you to be a very nice, kind guy. You treated me extremely well when you didn't have to. And so we all have sort of selfish tendencies. And in some regards, that's not always bad, because we do have to look out for ourselves, because no one really is looking out for us in the same way they would look out for themselves, which is important. But
True.
then, as you're saying, sort of, you need to also be generous and help people when they ask, and not brush people off, and pay attention to the things that they're saying. The phone has a lot to do with that. Our attention has a lot to do with that, and how we get distracted in certain moments. But then you reflect back on how you acted in certain moments, and how you could have treated people better, and sort of potentially regrets that you might have. But it's hard because we can't change anything that we did. We can only
No.
hope to move forward a little bit better. So yeah.
Yeah, you can't. You got to be a little selfish. You're right. Otherwise, then you don't have any personal development and time for yourself to reflect. I mean, there's always a balance, but in general, I think we can all listen to each other a little bit more.
I agree.
Yeah. So
exactly. All right.
yeah.
Before we get into what we're going to talk about today, I want to ask you the other most important question that we ask on this podcast. Matt, how are you doing? How are you doing? How's the new year going for you? How's work?
New Year's good, man. I've had a lot of good family time this new year. Just got back from Colorado. Spent some time with my sister, her husband, my niece. You know, my parents are close by, so that's always good. Anytime I get to see my sister, because she lives far away, and connect with her, it's always special. You know, it really brings me back to like old memories of just her and I growing up. And you know, she went to school in the Midwest as well, so I feel like for some reason, anytime I get to hang out with her and connect, it brings back old memories from college as well, because she was down in Omaha at Creighton. So we were always connecting. So, man, things are good. Work's going well. I'm still in school, getting that MBA. I'm just trying to learn a little bit more. But yeah, you know, still got the dog's hanging in there. No, you might hear him on this podcast. He's down there doing something.
We heard him a little bit last time, but that's all right. We love dogs here.
Yeah. You have a dog, don't you?
Well, we have a family dog.
Oh, okay.
Because it was my sister's dog.
Okay.
And and now it lives with my parents.
Oh, guys, very cool.
Yeah, it's a beautiful little creature. It brings a lot of joy. So,
man, so much joy, a lot of fur. Sleeps in the bed with me, you know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, everything's going well. I'm doing good, you know, if I had to say it. And I can feel good about saying that.
Beautiful, man. Why, I didn't ask you this last time, but why did you decide to get your MBA?
You know, pharmacy school was a long journey there. 7-8 years of just reading, studying, and learning. And then once you get in your career, I feel like this is for anybody too. Whether it's a skill or something a little more in the medical field or whatever it may be, like book inclined, I guess you could say, like physical versus mental skill. Once you get in that, everything is pretty isolated to like one area. I feel like, you know, not everybody is a jack of all trades in their job, which can get a little monotonous, I feel like, but that's kind of the way the world's designed, right? Like you have experts in their field. You know, your plumber is not going to do your siding, and, you know, your pharmacist isn't going to be doing your heart surgery. It's just kind of how it is. So you feel like you just get a little pigeonholed into one area. And I wanted to open up and learn something completely different than the medical side. Learn something more about finance, whether that helps me in my job or my personal life. I mean, that's kind of what I was going at. Like, hey, if this doesn't apply at all to work, at least I learned something completely new, one, and two, maybe this can help me personally, you know, live a more productive and satisfying life financially. And I don't want to say everything boils down to how much money you make or whatnot, but there is some piece to being, you know, financially stable and feeling good about where you're at. Money wise, because then it allows your mind to be free to do other things. You know, you're not always worried about debt and running over your expenses and all that stuff. So being smart about that, learning a little bit more about that was the biggest goal there. And yeah, if I can apply it to work, that's great too. So it's kind of fun being back in school. Like there's a skill to school, which is weird to me. There's the skill of learning, you know, the actual topic. And then there's an actual skill of taking tests and learning your professor and what they're looking for and whatnot. Kind of forget like how that all was structured and how it worked back in the day. It's fun. It's been fun so far. So I'm in my 4th class now.
I wish, well, maybe not wish. What's the right word? Maybe. I don't know. But I didn't expect in my life that I would need such business skills as I do.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
because, I studied health education and nutrition in college. Wasn't 100% sure what I was going to do with that. I was like, okay, I'll be a personal trainer. Maybe I'll be a strength conditioning coach. But I was like, I'm going to be a professional wrestler. So what the fuck do I need all this other shit
Yeah.
for? I was like, that's what I'm going to do. It's fine.
Yeah.
But then when I got into personal training and got into professional wrestling, it's all a business. Like,
Right.
how do I handle, what am I going to make? Where's my money going? How can I budget this out when I was making $0 to wrestle? How can I still afford the food I need, my gym, all this other stuff? Okay. And I'm a personal trainer. How much do I charge for my clients? Where am I spending my time? And then, then I start working for myself and creating all of these businesses. I'm like flying by the seat of my pants, trying to figure it out as I go. But I guess that was like a fun part about it. So if I imagine studying business in college, I probably wouldn't have had as much fun because I didn't enjoy the topic as much then as I do now, because I really love health education and fitness. And so it kept me in class, it kept me engaged, because really I just went to college to play baseball and school just happened to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And now that I have to run a nonprofit and a podcasting business and a coaching business, I'm just learning it as I go, and it feels invigorating because it is what I want to be doing. And I'm more, I like learning a lot more than I used to because I'm learning all of the things that directly apply to the things I'm trying to do in my life. So I totally understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, it is weird. And I didn't really understand it back then too. You just studied to get through it. I feel like, you're just trying to get that class taken care of, get the grade, whatever. Now I'm trying to really see the value. Okay. One, because I'm paying for it. So,
yeah, right.
I don't want to screw that up, but yeah, it's my time, time's limited. And I really want to digest it and understand what the heck I'm reading, and what I'm doing and interacting with. The one thing I will say though, it's online, and I don't care what anybody says, online versus in person, there's no comparison. In person is way better, miles beyond online, man. Like you can't replicate those interactions on the internet, no matter what you do. It doesn't work. We had at work, we had a panel interview last week for a candidate for a job. And this was the first time in I don't know how many years where it was completely in person. There was no online option. You couldn't Zoom in from your office or your house or whatever. So we all got together, different hours, different groups of panel people, 10 people on each panel, right? And met in this big conference room for the interview like we used to do back in the day. And just those 5 to 10 minutes before and after where you're running in and out of the meeting and you're seeing people you haven't seen in a little while, those just quick conversations, I swear more gets done as far as like work progress, building relationships in those short 5-minute passings than you ever could replicate on the internet. There's no way, it's no comparison. It's crazy.
There's absolutely zero comparison whatsoever. It's like not even close. And I understand the convenience of the Zoom. I get it.
It's so convenient.
And I get why we needed it for when we needed it. I love it for podcasting. I don't live anywhere near you. I want to chat with you. This is beautiful. Great. But most people are going to listen to this via audio. So it's fine for them because it's like we're in person anyways, if the quality of the audio is good. Sometimes it sucks. I'm getting better at that as we go. That's just how improvement as a podcast. But, so most people feel like it's the in-person conversation because they're just like listening and as they do stuff. Some people watch it via YouTube, but you get my point. But the in-person interaction, like feeling someone's energy, like making eye contact, potentially like touching them if it's appropriate, like a pat on the shoulder or like a fist bump or whatever the case may be. It just like creates a vibe and an energy that's like unbelievable. Like I do a lot of mental health speaking engagements. And of course, the ones that are in person, I feel like I'm making more of an impact on the people that I'm speaking to, right? Because I can directly connect with them. The before and after, like you're talking about, is amazing because I can get a personal relationship. Like, what exactly are you dealing with right now? And maybe how can I tailor my presentation to maybe directly speak to you and your needs while also helping everyone that's in the room as well. And then, of course, on Zoom, it's hard to like talk about something because you don't know who's there. You're sort of, are people listening? Your camera might be off. Am I just
Right.
talking to talk? Who's listening? You know, again, I understand the importance of it. I understand the convenience of it. I understand why sometimes we need to do it, but you can't beat being in the room with people. You can't beat it because we're social creatures and we need that. And you don't know who you're going to talk to, who you're going to run into, what connection you're going to make, what amazing thing you might create with that person, what how you'll touch their lives in a way that you may never know, but they talk about it for the rest of their life, like, or a job interview. Like,
Yeah.
man, it's like, so if we can get back to that, like at full tilt, 100%, I mean, we're gonna do amazing things. And it creates something where you have to be present for what you're doing. Because if we're having a job interview or a conversation or a speaking engagement and you're on your phone the whole time, you know, it just looks weird. Like, you know, you're being disrespectful. You can't do it. But if I'm on Zoom and my camera's off, I can do whatever I want. I can literally be doing whatever I want.
You can just sit there just down in the trenches. Yeah. I mean, in person, people look at you like, what's wrong? This jackass? What is this guy doing, man? Like,
yeah.
So I know that's why when we interview people too, you have the lunch, you go get coffee, because even the formality of an interview or like a conversation, like a podcast, even, you know, there's a difference between that and then just walk into wherever, the cafeteria, you know, you're just BSing about whatever. You really get to know somebody. And like you said, you know, you might talk about something or have an interaction that changes their day, changes their life. Think about something differently, you know, that they've never thought about before, whatever it might be. So I don't get the resistance. People want to just stay home and do that cycle. What does that look like? You wake up, you eat in your house, you work in your house, you might go outside and go on a walk and then come home and eat and go to bed. You know, you never like go out in public. I don't get it. There's a lot of pushback.
I don't understand, especially for like the regular person who has just like a small apartment that they live in. Right. If you have this like massive house and you can go in like 7 different rooms to do 7 different things, it might be a little bit better. But if I'm doing everything in this little apartment, I'm not going to be able to do it. Right. Especially a bedroom. A bedroom is meant for 2 things: sex and sleep. That's it. That's it. Because seriously though, because your body is tuned to know what's going to happen when I go into this bed. Am I getting ready for sleep, or am I doing something intimate with my partner? Great. I'm not working in here. I'm not eating in here. I'm not needing to be energized in here. And then I go to a separate place in my house to do my work. That's where my body knows that it's time to do deep work. And if everything is all happening interconnected, all in the same place, your body can't adjust to that and it doesn't know what to do. And then you're not getting outside. You're not going to the gym. You're not meeting your friends. Like, social isolation is just as bad as smoking a pack of cigarettes. So if we can consciously work to get away from that, like, and everyone is working to get away from that, then we have to be. And there can be like a hybrid situation if need be, right? If your company is like located in California, but you live in Dallas, like, I understand some of that stuff, because you want to get the best people working for your company, and the best people are like worldwide, of course. But there can still be some stuff where you have to be very conscious about your work environment, what you do each day, you know, your movement, your steps, how you're treating your bedroom versus your office, you know, things like that. And if you can curate that environment, which is just as important as anything else, then potentially you could have a suitable and sustainable like home office or work from home situation.
I took the TV out of the bedroom. I haven't had one in there for a couple of years because it was toxic, man. Just playing reruns of The Office or whatever, just staying up, wasting time, doing nothing. Nothing productive is happening, you know? I had to get rid of it. If I could just get rid of the phone, but you're better about that because you can set the timers and it's easier just to set that down. But if the TV's in there, I also don't have a personal laptop anymore either. I like that thing finally died and I never replaced it. So I have my work computer, which is work only. And then my home computer is a desktop. So it's in a separate space, not, you know, you can't carry it around with you, lay in bed on the laptop, do whatever. That has been a huge help because I used to just lay there and listen to podcasts or whatever, Joe Rogan, who knows what. Sure. And I would just like let it help me fall asleep, I guess, but that's not healthy, you know? it's way better to read a book or just wind down naturally, you know?
Absolutely. I agree.
So, yeah, man.
All right. Well, let's get into the meat and bones for today's episode, even though we've already been chatting for like 30 minutes.
The meat and bones, baby.
The meat and bones. So I sent you this Twitter thread. I thought it would be pretty cool for us to sort of break it down. The title of the Twitter thread is called 7 Non-Negotiables for Success in 2023. It's by this guy named Colby Coltgen, who tweets out a bunch of good stuff. He has a cool newsletter. His whole basic thing is about getting 1% better every day, which is something that I talk about as well. And I'm sure, Matt, you know as well. So
should I
we're going to break these down the best we can.
It? You got it?
Huh?
You got it pulled up, or you want me to pull it up?
Yeah, I got it right here.
Oh yeah, baby. You can do a screen share like at work.
Yeah, I just have it on my other laptop right here. So I'll say the skill or the non-negotiable, and then you'll go, I'll go, we'll talk about it, and then we'll just move on.
Yeah, let's do it.
So here we go. 7 non-negotiables for success in 2023. Number 1, build at least one high value skill. There's no skipping this part of the process. Start getting your reps in now. What do you think about that, Matt?
Man, I think that's huge. I was thinking about this the other day, actually, how that's changed like the perception of the population on people with skills. You know what I mean? Like whether it's a work skill or a personal value skill or whatever it may be. But I feel like leading up to COVID, people were really starting to devalue that, right? Whether it be like the carpenter, the plumber, the work professional, the healthcare provider is like, screw it, man. I can Google it. I can YouTube it. I can do whatever. And COVID, I think after that, now the aftermath of it has really changed that. People are really starting to value each other and their personal skills and what they can do to help, others in those interactions, their level of expertise in one particular subject. And I don't know, maybe if I'm just coming at it from that angle, because I'm getting a little older and I'm starting to do work on my house and I'm really spending time with my dad and learning his expertise, which is carpentry and engineering. So he's teaching me a lot of things. And I find a ton of value in that, because before I would try and do it on my own, Google it, YouTube it, whatever. It's not the same, as working with somebody who has what you said, a high value skill. And then from my perspective as a pharmacist, I feel like the value has been put back on us in the healthcare setting to provide some type of value to your patients, bring that skill to them. Whereas before it was more of like, all right, push the pills, get out of here. I don't need to talk to you. But now people are starting to see the value. And if you don't develop a skill that you can bring to the table, I feel like you're going to be left behind or left out of the conversation. So it's making a resurgence, man. I mean, you see it in every aspect of the workforce right now.
Yeah, I mean, developing at least one skill, because you can sort of, there's this idea of skill stacking where like one stacks on top of the other and you sort of integrate it and mesh it and you get this like broad range of skills.
Yeah.
But if you're just looking to elevate yourself just 1%, slightly move the needle forward, think about one skill. And I think when people think about skill, they think about like a physical thing that they could get better at potentially. Like,
true.
Like you were talking about, like plumbing or carpentry or whatever the case may be or like sales or video and film editing or copywriting, right? Some of those skills that are tangible that you could potentially get a job from or elevate yourself in the current job that you already have. But when I think about a skill, I also think about skills like, a meditation skill or becoming more optimistic or learning how to calm yourself down when you get too aroused, right? All of those are also skills as well. Learning how to communicate effectively, being able to write or read better or understand things that happen. Those are all skills that we've acquired over time that are sort of things like, if someone asked us what we were good at, we'll be able to say that. Am I a really good reader? Can I understand and comprehend the things that I'm reading all of the time? That's a skill you can get better at, right? And so think about, okay, do I want to get a skill that directly applies to what I do for work? Or do I want to get a skill that will apply to a thing that I'm thinking about that I want to do, that I can start building towards that? Or do I just want to become a little bit better version of myself? So you kind of have to maybe look at sort of those 3 domains and then maybe pick one skill in each and try and move the needle forward there. And so it's extremely important. And also, I think it's fun to learn something new.
I totally.
It's
And
super
then the
fun.
skill stacking, I've heard that term before. And multitasking as well is another one people always talk about. I don't buy into that, the multitasking thing. I don't know what you're yeah, you can't you got to focus on the task at hand. And I think for the skill development thing, it's the same, focus on one thing, one item that you can improve on or that you want to develop, right? Like, what is multitasking? What is that? You can't do that. Right.
Yeah, we're going to get into that. It's one of the later ones about it.
Oh, is it really? Oh, okay,
yeah,
great.
For sure.
There you go.
But yeah, so it's like, I was going to say something. Oh, well. Anyways.
No, the mental part, that's huge too. Little story. My mom, her and I are super connected. She used to tell me in her early years of her career here in the Portland, Oregon area, she's from the Northeast, from Boston. She's moved around a bunch, met my dad in Arizona, and they really love the sunshine and the heat of Arizona. And when my dad's job brought him to the Northwest, she started working. She's like, damn, it's rainy, it's cold, shitty outside. And she'd go into work every day and people would be like, hey, Trish, how's it going? She'd be like, God, it's fucking cold out. Like, just kind of a grump about it, And she said she did that for years. And I don't know what clicked with her, but one day she had like a moment of self-reflection in her office going, do people probably don't want to ask me how I'm doing or talk to me, because every time they ask me, I say, why is it so cloudy? Why is it so rainy? And she did what you're saying, made that mental shift to let's be a little more optimistic about this, or how can I enjoy this place or this weather or whatever? And maybe I need to join a running group or go on a hike with some people from work, get out in nature and see what it has to offer. But she made that self switch of just the optimism, or approaching it like, hey, you know what? There's some good everywhere. I don't want to be the Debbie Downer on somebody's day when they ask, hey, how's your morning? And you're like, it's freaking rainy out, man. What the hell? That's no way to respond.
Right. And also, if you respond in a way where you're sort of being a little bit more optimistic, looking at the good, and then when you do come into the office and you actually aren't feeling very good, people will respond to that a little bit better because you haven't repeatedly said that over and over and over and over and over and over again. They're probably going to be like, oh, like, are you all right? Do you need to talk about it? Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Instead of just sort of seeing always the bad all the time, no matter what, even though some things are probably pretty good. But that's like a situational basis anyways. But, I was going to say, based on the skills, and developing a skill, you don't have to start a skill and then have to become a master at this skill. I don't think, you just have to be willing to improve upon it and try something new because it's fun. And you go in with this beginner's mindset, everyone who's a master at anything was a fool at the beginning. And so if we can just have a learner's mindset, a beginner's mindset, then it might be something that's a lifelong passion of yours, a lifelong hobby. Or it might be something that's going to completely change the trajectory of your life, your job, and your family's life. So you never know, but you have to begin to see where it might go. And the best time to start that skill was yesterday or right now.
Exactly. So, put the phone down, start that skill.
Exactly. Number 2, I think this obviously goes right in line because it's 7 non-negotiables. So number 2 is be able to identify high impact tasks.
Yeah. Is this time management? I guess you could say, figure out what's important, whether it be personally or to help others. There's a lot of ways to waste time in the day. I mean, Jesus, you freaking sit there on your couch and scroll on Instagram for an hour, and an hour is a long time. When I think about sitting there scrolling on the phone or watching SportsCenter for an hour, how much time an hour actually is if I was reading a book, how far I can get in a book and learn something new. Or just, reading is a great way to relax and not so much meditate, but just calm you down, and a little bit less stimulation than the constant scrolling and flashing in your face. I try and explain that to people in that way. Think about sitting alone in a room for 5 minutes with nothing. It's silence. 5 minutes is a lot longer than you think when you're coming at it from that angle versus 5 minutes on your phone. So if you can really start to understand how much time's actually in a day, it'll really open your eyes to what you can do, what you can get done. And then writing things down too. Like I used to do that in college a lot, right? You used a planner or a calendar. You had all your assignments and tasks you had to do. We had to go to practice, all that. You had it all listed out. And there's a satisfaction in checking them off and whatnot. But the organization of it, I feel like, is huge, right? If you took a moment to write down, let's say tonight, I write down everything I need to do tomorrow, and then I do it. Well, that's a good day. You know, that's productive use of my time. And then if you did that, you know, for a week and for a month and so forth, I've gotten back into that. Not so much writing it down physically, but using the computer as a calendar. But it really helps organize everything and get it out of my headspace and into something I can see and visualize more physically, right? You can see it break down on an actual sheet of paper or on the screen.
Yeah, I think writing things down is paramount.
We don't do it enough. I mean,
No.
I feel, I don't know what happened there. It's like we got out of school and I just threw the notebooks away.
Well, we put some stuff on our phone. We use the notes app, you know, instead of actively engaging with a pen and paper to write things down. And then when we got them done, I got them done, and then reinforce ourselves positively that we got that thing done, and then keep moving down the list. But the thing with identifying sort of these high impact tasks is that you have to know what's most important to you.
Yeah.
Like what is most important to you? Okay. Now I know that this is my set of core values. These things are the most important to me. This is what is important. And I'm going to do my most important tasks first. And then what activities help me get those most important tasks done? Okay, then I'm going to do more of those things. Instead, we like to work in like this urgent and important tasks. Like everything is urgent and everything is important. Well, that's not really true. Some things are important, but if you get them done when they need to be done, then they're not so urgent. Then you have time to sort of do other things that could potentially benefit you in the long run when you're doing those important tasks. So you have better time management. So you can go for that walk. So you can have lunch with your friend. So you can get that exercise routine in. So you can pick your kids up from school. So not everything is urgent, because you've planned accordingly about what is most important to you. So you can leverage that time most appropriately to those most high impact tasks. So you're not always like frantic, like this has to get done, this has to get done, this has to get done, because you've worked hard to sort of eliminate that need. Now, if you work in a corporate structure, of course, there's going to be those random moments where your boss just lays that thing on your desk and you got to get it done. You have no choice. It is urgent and it is important, but you have all the other things you've done eliminated or tasked out or planned out that doesn't seem so overwhelming that you're just completely off the fringes, stressed out about it. You've sort of put that blocker into your schedule. So this might happen. My boss might do this. So I have this planned out. And that happens for me and working for yourself as well as an entrepreneur. Like sometimes people have to reschedule or they cancel an episode. I'm like, okay, frantically, this episode has to come out in 4 days. I don't have a guest. How do I record? Who can I move here? How can I flip this around? But I've planned out so far in advance, almost to like June with guests, that it doesn't seem like it's the end of the world, but it is important and it is urgent, so I can get it done. But most importantly, I'm trying to do the stuff that's just important that I know I can get done and leverage over time.
There's a balance to that, right, as well, because some of those tasks that come your way, you can just hammer out. Like they're short. You don't need to write them down or put them on the list. It just creates more chaos if you do that. So there is a balance to like, okay, something came up, but I can get that done really quick and it'll free up and it's a little less cluttered as far as my to-do list. Kind of like the marbles in the sand analogy, in the jar. Like you put the sand in first of all the small things you have to do, the marbles won't fit, right? But if you put the marbles in first, the big tasks, and then the sand falls in, it's kind of like that with the small tasks too. If you let those pile up, they're a lot more time consuming than you think. Then you can't hit those big projects, those important projects. You don't have the time delegated for it. So there is a little balance there to like when something comes up, just knock it out versus put it on the to-do list, you know?
Right. Exactly. And I think there's an element also of being able to ask for help when you need it too,
Yeah.
you
True.
know, from whether it's coworkers, a friend, business partners, whatever the case may be, is, you know, saying that, hey, I got a lot on my plate. Is there something that you could help me with? Or have you done some work in this area where you could help me sort of leverage my time the best, or
You
whatever
hear
the
that?
case may be? Is that your
Gonna mess
dog?
up yeah, he's gonna mess up the audio of the podcast.
No, it's all good.
Should I go put him outside so he's not squeaking? He does this, man. If I ever am taking a call or a meeting, he finds the noisiest toy
And start squeaking away.
Yeah, dude. Like, what is that?
Of
He knows they're smart. They're smart.
course.
Yeah, he's like, what's this guy doing? He's not paying attention to me.
Yeah, he wants your attention.
That's all good. He'll survive. He'll make it.
Yeah.
No, I agree, man. You know, it's funny. I compare it to just little things in my house too. Like, let's say I'm getting ready to leave for work, or it's the middle of the day or whatever, and I got like the coffee on the pot, the dishwasher needs to be emptied. You know, there's some stuff that I could pick up, right? And you put all that off till the end of the day when you get home. You're like, dang, like I got to do all these little things. Like this might take an hour and a half to do all these things. Well, if I would have just hit those during the day, then I get home at the end of the day from work. I have an hour set aside to read now because I don't have to do the laundry, empty the dishwasher, whatever, you know, clean up the garage, all that stuff. So definitely a balance to it for sure. I love pulling the Post-it notes down though, man. At work, I use like little Post-its, put them on the monitor. I do that at home too, more so at home. And then I'll just rip the Post-it and throw it away. It's like so satisfying just to be able to toss that out once you knock it off.
Yeah, it feels amazing.
Dude, so good, right? Or like on my fridge is just littered with Post-it notes and to-dos. And I just like love like I get satisfaction at ripping it up, throwing it in the recycle. It's like, heck yeah, knock that off, baby. Let's go.
Beautiful. Number 3. This is a great one.
Let's hit it. What is it?
Delay gratification. You wouldn't plant a seed and dig it up every 2 days to check it out. So stop doing it in your life. Allow the fruits of your labor to grow before harvesting. Long-term peace over short-term pleasure.
Heck yeah, dude. I've had to learn this. Patience is a virtue, man. And I always bring it back to work life, you know, my pharmacist life. But I remember when I first started working, I was always looking for that next job, that next promotion, asking my boss, like, hey, what's coming? Like, when am I going to get promoted? Or what can I do? It's like, yo, easy, buddy. Pump the brakes. You've only been doing this a year to 2 years. And now I'm 9 years in, 9 years into being a pharmacist. I've been with the hospital I'm at for over 6 years now. In the same job for over 5. And some people would say, hey, you're not progressing, but that's not true because I'm learning new skills and meeting new people and working through the day to day. Being patient, I feel like has paid off for me in the work life. Not always jumping for that next opportunity or next promotion. Some other company reaches out maybe for something that's a little bit different. You know, you got to find ways to better yourself in your current role and work with the people that are on your team and grow more organically over a long period of time too. So, non-work related, I feel like we can talk about this in the dating world, man, like using the apps and all that nonsense, like the delayed versus instant gratification there. It's crazy. You got to look at your long-term goal. What do you want in a partner long-term, and why are you messing around with somebody that you know is not compatible with you? Right.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Well, I mean, it goes exactly back to what we're talking about in the last one, number 2, which is high impact, right? If you know exactly what you're looking for in a partner, and the values you're trying to line up with and the person you're trying to be with for the rest of your life, and you go on a few dates with someone and they don't match up, then it's okay to say that, you know, I don't think this person is for me, because you understand what you're looking for. Now you have to give it some sort of time. I don't know what that time frame might be or how many dates. I'm not sure, you know, what that might be, but yeah, then you don't need to continue seeing that person just for the sake of seeing that person when you know they don't line up with your ultimate trajectory of where you want to be. And so being able to just like be alone or be single for that amount of time until you have developed yourself into the person you know that is suitable for being a good partner, and then, you know, doing the right things to land that partner. You know, it's not going to magically happen, but there is some sort of serendipity to it, a little bit of the universe looking out for you. But
Right.
you have to be in that right sort of state of mind, path, place in your life to be open, because timing is a lot when it comes to there's sort of life altering, lifelong relationships.
No, man, I agree. Those apps are not conducive to that.
It really depends on how you use them and how intentional you are with them. If I'm just getting on the apps and I'm scrolling on every girl I see and going on as many dates as humanly possible and sleeping with a bunch of women, and sure, that's fun for like a little bit. Like we've done that. We've been down that road.
It's like it's not fun though.
But then it's very empty. I feel empty. It becomes very empty. Like,
yes,
you've probably just disregarded a bunch of women in a way that you shouldn't do. And then you think about it, you start to feel shit. I started to feel like absolute shit.
Yeah, you do.
And that's why I went on the path that I went on, and it landed me with the most incredible relationship of my entire life. And so you have to think about the stuff that gives you energy and the stuff that drains your energy, and why you're doing the things you're doing. Are you just trying to sleep with a bunch of women because you want to go and tell your buddies that you slept with a bunch of women? It's not that cool, man. It's not. It's like everyone has to go through that stage, and you have to personally be able to close that loop. Yeah, I get it. So me saying it probably doesn't mean anything to you if you're in that stage of your life. But from experience, like the true relationships, the one that nourish you and you feel supported and loved and encouraged, and you give that to your partner as well, are the ones that are the best.
Yeah. I mean, it relates to work too. I mean, if you're just jumping for money, trying to find that next 5% increase in salary, that is not satisfying. If you're leaving a job or taking a job just for the money, that is a bad move. And I have friends that do it all the time. I tell them that's not going to satisfy you in the long run, or you're not going to learn anything that way. You're not going to feel good about it. You're not going to feel good about yourself. I just don't see it. So it needs to come from a deeper place for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if you love what you're doing and you feel a sense of passion for it, and you want to be valued more, and you think being valued more is an increase in pay, that's a different story. But if you're just like, oh, I sort of like it here, but I'll get paid more here, so I'm just going to leave all these people, even though I love them and it's been a great time and they treat me well, I'm just going to go for the money, whatever, you know. And there's sort of different circumstances that maybe that apply to if you really need it for your family, but just generally speaking, right, it's about this intrinsic motivation that keeps you there, and the relationships you're building and all of that stuff. And being at a place for a long time is pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know more than I do about that. So,
I mean, it is, because you really get to know people. I mean, I have a great relationship with my employees and my boss, and I don't see them as employees. All right, we gotta take care of this guy. Do you hear that? Does it come through on your headphones?
Yeah.
Here, hold on one sec.
Okay.
You know what I'm going to do, Aaron? All right. We pause the podcast for a moment. This podcast is brought to you by Trader Joe's Charcuterie. You know how they have the ads in the middle?
Dude. Yeah, this is it, eh?
This is it. Charcuterie. It's like a charcuterie board for dogs, I guess. Apparently.
That's pretty cool.
I could do a human taste test. He comes back in with a toy. What I'll do is I'll take it like right now, and then just give him the treat, and then he'll be good. All right. Yeah, man, I don't see him as employees. Back to what you're saying, being somewhere a long period of time, my current role, current job, whatever. I mean, you just become friends with them, like real relationships. You get to know them. You get to know their families, their struggles, what their goals are. They get to know you in the same realm. I mean, man, like think about if you made a group of friends, right? Like in your community, and then just to up and leave them, say like, all right, I'm out of here. Like we're done hanging out. This is it, for no other reason than like there's some money gratification somewhere else. That would make no sense. You would never do that. And in the work world, I feel like that's the same way. Once you build those relationships with people, it's way harder to leave. I don't think about the money. I think we all live to our means anyway. So like little bits of changes in salary here and there, unless, like you're saying, it's some life altering thing or you need it for your family. Otherwise, I put more value on working with people, meeting people, and building those those relationships.
Yeah. And you definitely learn this sort of delay of gratification in sports.
That's true. I didn't even think about it that way.
That's why I think sports are one of the many reasons why playing sports, especially for youth, are extremely important. Yeah. Like me and you, baseball players. I started playing baseball at like 5, right? I didn't personally feel like I was capable as a baseball player until my junior year of college. I was like 19 or 20. So that's almost 15, 14 years of consistently playing the game of baseball and loving every moment of it, especially the times where it was very bad and I was striking out 4 or 5 times a game and going 0 for 20 in my first college experience, and Richie asking me if I could actually hit and why he recruited me. 0
for 20?
I was like 0 for 16, in my first 16 at bats. Like I think 12 of them were strikeouts. And hey, Richie was like, I'm not sure why we recruited you, man. But that's hopefully it gets better. I'm like,
that's not a real productive way to handle it.
But anyways, and then so having that, and then like by my junior year, feeling like, oh, like I'm actually like a pretty good baseball player. Clearly I can get better, but I feel confident in the way I move and the way I swing and the way I approach the game. And that's 15 years of dedicated effort, knowing that, not really knowing where I was going with it, but knowing that I was just going to play because I love the game and enjoying the process of trying to get better and being around my teammates and all of that stuff. And so that lesson I've applied everywhere in my life. I've applied it to professional wrestling. I didn't know how to do anything. What? Like, I don't know how to professional wrestle until I did know how to do it. Right. And podcasting is the exact same way. There's like 2 million podcasts or something like that, or 5 million podcasts. And 90% of those podcasts have less than 10 episodes.
That's wild. And then hundreds.
Yes. And then 90% of that have only 20%. So that means basically I have 20 episodes. That means if you do more than 21 episodes of a podcast, you're in like the best podcast in the whole entire planet out of like 5 million podcasts.
That's crazy. Hey, congrats, buddy.
Thank you. Yeah, this is episode like 137. So
you're posting them a lot now. It's consistent. So you're lining up guests. That's awesome. It's hard work. I mean, you have to work with jackasses like me who have to reschedule and cancel. So
it's all good. It's all good. But that's what I'm saying, man. So like people get into all of these fields, especially like an entrepreneurial field or like a solo entrepreneur, and like, oh, I'm going to make a podcast and it's going to be as big as the Tim Ferriss show by next week. Oh, I did 4 episodes and I got 0 listens and 0 plays and 0 downloads. Shit. Yeah. Well, it's not about the plays. It's not about the downloads. It's about the conversations. It's about what you're learning, what I'm learning from you, what I'm learning from my guests, how I'm, just iterating the things that I'm learning in my life. It's about those conversations. It's about putting in the reps over and over and over, consistency, because you're in love with the process of doing the thing that you're doing, whatever it may be. Whether it's archery or ice skating or plumbing or carpentry or podcasting. And then over time, you're like, oh, like, I could definitely get better at this, but I feel like I'm pretty good. And I can see that process happening over time and I can see that improvement. And so I don't care if anyone never listens ever again. I'm going to keep doing it because I have peace knowing that I'm enjoying doing the process. And that's delayed gratification. And with social media consuming our lives, it's very hard to extrapolate that and be like, and get delayed gratification because we get instant gratification over and over again with 750 million videos scrolling through. And then we're like, okay, well, why am I not on varsity after 1 day of baseball? Well, it's because you're not very good yet, man. Doesn't mean you can't get there. You absolutely 100% can. but not from one game of catch and one hitting lesson are you going to be able to start on varsity as the shortstop. So
exactly. It's like the fitness world, man. Everything is all about instant gratification, the instant fix. Is that ever going to change? I don't think so, because it appeals to people's ability to like transform overnight, which we know is not possible. Yeah, you have to, over a course of time, get 8 hours of sleep, eat well, hydrate, get your steps in, go to the gym, right?
Mm-hmm.
Could take months, could take years, you know, but, and part of that too is enjoying the process, right? Everybody always talks about that, but really like enjoying what you're doing and what you're working towards. That's the only way to make it sustainable. I feel like if you're just doing something for the end goal, that's a disaster waiting to happen, right? You're going to fail, or most likely going to fail. So
yeah, there's no sustainability in that. You're going to get burnt out. You're going to get overwhelmed.
Right.
Of course, everything in life is based on results and outcome, right?
Yes.
But if that is the only thing that's motivating you, there's no sustainability in that, because you're going to get most likely the outcome and the result you want if you're doing the things you should be doing, right? If you're planning, practicing, executing, reviewing, and then learning, and then repeating that over and over and over and over again, because the process is so fun to you, then you're most likely going to get the outcome or result that you want. And then if you don't, then you know that you just look back on your process and be like, okay, I can change this portion of it. I can make a few pivots here, here, and here, and this will probably lead me down the path that I want to go on. So, but yeah, the fitness industry one is interesting.
It's crazy. And now with Instagram too, like you're saying, the endless amounts of videos and people trying to catch your attention with these quick fixes. Mm-hmm. It's wild, man.
I think Tony Robbins said this, but he was like, people completely overestimate what they can do in 1 year and completely underestimate what they can do in 5.
That's a good way to think about it. Yeah. 5 is a lot longer than you think, for sure.
Because if I want to lose 150 pounds, okay, that's a lot. That's probably a 3 to 4 year journey, but really it's a lifelong commitment to keeping that weight off and living my life as a healthy person.
Right.
But if I say I have to lose 100 pounds in the next 12 months, that's tough. That's really tough. And then you're probably doing a lot of these things that are not really healthy. You're trying to just drop the weight quickly. And then what happens if you do drop the weight? Have you developed these habits that are going to help you live a sustainable, healthy life, which is going to allow you to still have ice cream and have popcorn and do some of these things that are exciting, but you can't because you've been so strict. And then you just fall back on some of these old habits because you didn't create a new life. You just did it. And so it's really quite hard. And so think about what you can do in the next 5 to 10 years. It's incredible what you could possibly do. Incredible. And if you plan out that long in advance and give yourself that much time to achieve anything, you're going to get there. You're going to get there.
Well, and too, like a short time period like that, you're putting too much stress on yourself because life happens, right? Something might come up, whether it's a family or work related thing, and then it throws you off a little bit. You got to get back on track. And then you're like, damn, I just spent a month dealing with this. I had to travel to wherever, take care of my mom, or 5 years is much more sustainable. 3 to 5 years, if you look at it more as like a long-term, like you're saying, lifelong journey, lifestyle change versus 1 year, get this done as a goal, it can happen in a year, throw you off. So
beautiful.
Hey, off topic, Richie took a new job.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he's going to be at Fresno State as an assistant coach under, I don't know if you met Ryan Overland.
I heard you guys talk about him a bunch. That's awesome.
Yeah. He's the head coach there. So yeah, he's leaving.
Well, there's 100% chance that Richie listens to this podcast. So congratulations.
100% chance. You can text it to him.
Yes, I'm going to. Hey, coach, haven't talked to you since my freshman year of college, but here's my podcast with Matt.
Here's my podcast. Oh, man, dude. Remember when I went 0 for 20? Look at me now. Here's my...
No, that's hilarious. No, good for him. I was hoping that he would get away from Kansas and start trying to build something on his own.
Yeah, do something different, right? So
yeah, awesome. Well, cheers to him. Perfect segue into number 4, which is effective communication. The ability to convey your thoughts and feelings effectively is crucial to your success in your business, your relationships, and your ability to influence. What do you think,
man? Man. I think that boils down to learn how to be uncomfortable in conversations, not so much confrontation, but in a way being able to deal with something that you feel like is confrontation, having a hard conversation with a family member or friend or coworker. Everybody can have the easy conversations, right? Hey, how's it going? Oh yeah, happy birthday. Oh, great. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all that stuff. That's easy. But like you said, you see that person come in the door, you can tell they're a little off. Instead of shying away and just letting them go about their day, maybe spend a moment with them off to the side, ask them how they're really doing, and take time to listen and engage in that conversation. Family member going through a tough time, those are the hardest ones, right? Because you're super close to them. Maybe your parents aren't getting along or interacting the way that you feel is appropriate. They're not treating one of your other family members the way you want them to be treated. How do you approach that? Somebody you've known your whole life, and you got to be a little confrontational with them. I feel like you have to be comfortable with those situations. And I feel like for me, because nobody likes it and wants to do it, it's practice. You got to practice that. You have to try. And sometimes it doesn't come out right, what you're trying to get across or say, but putting in the effort and attempting it and working on it with different people over time, that makes it easier for sure. Some people are required to do it for their job, like me. So that helps get me practice, but I never want to do it. I don't want to talk to somebody about performance or changing their behavior. Maybe they're coming in late, this, that, on their phone too much, whatever. But I always feel good afterwards, because it's always a good conversation, because you find out what's going on in their life. Maybe something is distracting them that's not related to work or whatever. Same with family too. You really just dive into what's bothering them and what's going on, versus if you just ignore the problem or kind of like candy coat around it. It's always beneficial. I always find so much more gratification after doing it, even though it's stressful and I get sweaty and a little anxious during it, the after effect, I almost compare it to like a workout. You go into a workout and you don't want to start it. The beginning of it kind of sucks, but you get in the middle and you're like, okay, we're getting somewhere here. And then towards the end, and when it's over, you're like, all right, that was good. That was productive. So, and that it gets easier with time, but it's never just easy from the start. Right. You're never going to get to that moment. So.
Yeah. It's practice. So important. It's so important to practice. As a Texan, Brene Brown would say, you have to step into the arena. You have to.
Yeah.
You can't play the game unless you're in the game. And
right.
She says to have these sorts of conversations, these hard conversations, you have to be awkward, brave, and kind.
True.
Awkward because it's hard.
It is
very awkward. And you're trying to convey some hard feelings, or you're trying to get down to the root cause of why someone may have been acting this way. And it's awkward. But you try and then you're brave about it, and then you are kind about it. And then it's like, okay, we can get to this mutual understanding or this common ground, or we can pull on this common humanity of this idea of struggling as humans, and how can I effectively communicate what I'm feeling and what you're feeling, and how can we try and understand each other better. And it also boils down to understanding what you want. Like, I can't effectively communicate to you, Matt, what I need from this conversation or from this podcast or from our friendship if I don't know, if I have no clue. And so that's also an important part of effective communication, is being first honest with ourselves. Like, okay, this is what's happening in my life. This is what I'm lacking. This is what I need. This is what I'm inadequate at. This is what I'm really good at. Okay, I know those things. And so now when I effectively communicate, let's say to my friends or to my family or in a job interview, that comes across as natural and honest, because I've done the work to think about that myself. And now I can convey those thoughts and feelings in a way that someone can understand them. And now we can move forward with that. And it's still going to feel awkward. as always, but I'm willing to step into the arena. I'm willing to put on my cleats and my jersey and be like, I'm playing the game, baby. Let's see how it goes. And I'm going to get knocked down. I'm going to strike out. I'm going to go 0 for 20, but then I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to figure it out. And then it's going to be like, okay, this is a little bit easier. And Jordan Peterson says, I don't know if you follow Dr. Jordan Peterson.
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Big fan of his.
Yeah,
he
says
great. That when we start doing things that we're scared of voluntarily, we don't get less scared, but we get more brave. And he says there's a big difference between the two. And I think that's really cool, because you're always going to be scared to do the things that are hard.
Right.
But if you voluntarily decide to show up for them, you're getting more brave and more courageous. And that's quite cool.
Yeah, for sure. And two, you have to be as vulnerable as the person you're trying to have that conversation with. Back to the point on the Twitter feed, right? Like, you know, there's no like one person coming at the other. It's a 50-50 vulnerability scale. I feel like there, you know, there's no playbook to it either. I think just going into it, being 100% open and vulnerable to that conversation and to where just go where it goes. I've always found success that way, you know. Kindness, that's a great way to describe it. Just coming at it from that angle for sure.
Yep. A friend of mine who's been on this podcast, Hadley, she would always say that clear is kind and kind is clear.
Yeah.
In terms of communication. So I think she's right.
Yeah.
All right. Number 5. This is what we sort of mentioned earlier about multitasking, but attention management. Your attention is being attacked 24/7. Protect it. Set firm boundaries. Eliminate distractions. Make no your default. What you focus on grows. Choose the right things. That's number 5, attention management.
Yeah. I mean, we've touched on it a lot, I feel like, already with the other points. Interesting though, choose the right things, because who tells you what's the right thing, right? Nobody tells you that. You have to really have some self-reflection to figure out, like we've said, what your goals are, what you want to do, what you want to get better at, what's important to you. And how do you got to set time for that reflection too, right? Otherwise you have no freaking idea what you're doing. And the time will click by and you'll sit there and realize, dang, I haven't made any progress in the last 2-3 years. Well, set some time aside for yourself to meditate, read, really just think about what's important to you. Maybe have a conversation with somebody close to you about what your goals are and what they see in you. I feel like that's helpful too. You know, the people around you that are close to you, they can provide some good feedback, sometimes point things out that you can't see always right away because you're so blinded with how busy life is and you just get caught up in that rat race, right? So a little bit of time for self-reflection, huge.
Yeah, self-reflection is wildly important, right? Because I'm going to ask advice from people, one, that I trust, and 2, that I want to be like.
Yeah.
Well, I can do the same to myself, but I can't ask myself for my own advice if I don't know myself at all, if I've never sat down to think about anything. So I can't trust myself. I can't trust my intuition. I can't trust my gut because one, like you're saying, you've never done the self-reflection to get to know myself, to understand what my core values are, what my internal compass is, what drives me, how do I get very concrete on the things that I want to do? Because then saying yes and saying no to things is very easy. I say yes to things that align with me completely, and I say no to the things that don't. But if I'm like wishy-washy, in between, not knowing, then I'm going to say yes to everything. And then my time is everyone else's time except for my own. And then I can't figure out, then the things that I'm choosing, the right things are the choices taken out of my hands. The choices being made for me. And so I can't even focus on anything. So I'm not only multitasking, I'm like quadruple tasking on everything. And then I wake up on a Thursday and I'm like fucking exhausted. Wondering where my time went. And I'm like, well, your time went to everything that you said yes to because you don't know what you actually want to say yes to. So you're saying yes to everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And I mean, it's easy to stray away from what you know you're supposed to say yes to and what you should say no to. You have to stick to it, right? And that's harder than it sounds, to stick to your plan.
Right.
Because like we said, you're constantly being bombarded with temptation and overstimulation. And it's easy just to like, oh, I'm going to go do this, do that, So
Yeah. Cause then there's if you're saying no to stuff that doesn't align to you, there's like this fear of missing out. There's like this fear of other people's opinions. Oh, they're having a bunch of fun. Should I have done that? Well, I have to wake up early tomorrow because the thing I'm doing tomorrow is important. So I know I shouldn't have gone, but then I feel like I'm missing out. This connection, this relationship, is it fun? But all of those feelings are still going to come up. We're regular human beings and we have those sorts of thoughts. But if internally we really do know that this was the best decision for us based on our core values, that's slowly going to subside. And then when you wake up and do the thing that you plan to do in the morning, you're going to be good to go. You crushed it because you got the right amount of sleep. You put the right amount of attention towards it. And so, you have to setting firm boundaries specifically on social media. Like you have to put some emotional parameters around your social media. The phone is designed to keep you coming back over and over and over and over and over again. So you have to control the phone, not let the phone control you. And so setting timers, putting it in a lockbox, having a digital shutdown, a digital Sabbath, whatever the case may be is, right? You have to do some of that stuff or you're going to be drawn away and your attention is going to be pulled in every different direction and you're going to be task switching and your attentional residue is going to be going from this task to that task. You're not really going to be focused on this because you still have some residue from the last task. And it's just like a whole freaking mess. Yeah. It's a whole mess. And so if you can actually do deep work, you're putting yourself in a higher position than everyone else around you because most likely they are not, because they haven't done this sort of intense work around distractions and boundaries yet.
Yeah. What I've tried to do too, because sometimes you can get so regimented with that time, right? I mean, you have your non-negotiables, which I think you always should have, whether that's, you got to go to work, you got to get some sleep, got to eat, maybe throw some fitness in there as like your non-negotiables, right? And then you have other things throughout the day that are important to you. Well, if it's all blocked out, full 24 hours, then there is no time for exploration into something else, a new relationship, a new skill. So, and those aren't always going to work out, like you're going to maybe meet a coworker for dinner or drink or whatever, and you'll get done with that interaction, be like, that wasn't what I thought it'd be. It's a waste of my time, I guess. Or it could go the other direction and lead to something great or develop something that you didn't see coming. Same with the new skill, right? Try something new. It doesn't always work out. There's no guarantee, but you got to build in a little bit of time for some of that exploratory type behavior or interactions. I, for a long time, was so regimented with my time. I wouldn't have time for this podcast or whatever, because I would just block all the other hours out of the day. Usually it was fitness related or whatever. I'd spend like 4 hours at the freaking gym. More inefficiency than anything. But same with going out with people from work. I'd spend time with them at work, but hey, somebody invites me to dinner or whatever, I'm too busy. I got my own thing going on. I try to build in a little bit of time during the week for some of those things that might be more borderline, but it's okay. I feel good about it because I've built it into the schedule. You know what I mean? My mental schedule of, all right, that's all right. We're going to explore this new thing and see where it goes.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Like putting some time in the schedule for free play and for creativity.
Yeah.
And for exploration. Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Then you don't feel bad about it. It's not a time waster because you built it in to time that's for you to go do something a little different. So, got to do it.
Wonderful. Number 6, this one, my favorite one.
Your favorite one, number 6. All right. What is it?
Take care of your health.
Take care of
your health before you are forced to make it a priority. Prioritize your health before you are forced to make it a priority.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever been sick? When you're sick in the hospital or just at home, really sick, there's only one thing you want, and that's your health for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So if you neglect that, you'll eventually end up in that space where you are sick and you can't do the things you want to do. Simplest things like go to the grocery store, whatever it may be. When you're sick, all you want to do is be healthy. And you got to always remind yourself of that. And you don't want to have to actually remind yourself of it by getting sick. You want to be able to just reframe it and think about that as, hey, man, health is the baseline, the bottom layer that holds this all together. Being healthy allows me to do everything else that I want to do. Kind of like the food pyramid, right? Your health, that if we do a food pyramid of your life, I feel like the health is at the bottom. It's got to be focusing on getting better, whether that's getting more sleep, drinking water, eating well, working out. Those are the most important things, because without that, you can't do anything else you want to do.
Right. If I'm trying to build the biggest skyscraper in the whole world, I'm digging into the ground so deep into those roots so I can have the strongest foundation possible.
Right.
That's what your health is. It's eating well, moving well, sleeping well, and thinking well.
Yep.
That's it. Done. Finish.
Done.
Make time for it every day, right? Take more walks, drink more water, try to eliminate some snacking, eat more real food, stop drinking sugar, moderate to sort of intense exercise, 30 minutes, 4 times a week,
yep.
Right? Prioritize your sleeping. That goes with eliminating social media and having a digital shutdown. That goes right into your sleep. How are your social connections? Do you have a gratitude practice? How are you thinking? All of these things. This is like your base layer of your health. And now, if you live a completely unhealthy life, and you have to understand that if you have to be honest with yourself about that.
Yeah.
Pick one of those things to attack. Okay, I'm going to start attacking my eating habits. That's it. Everything else will come after that. I'll do one thing at a time. And then you start to think to yourself, okay, what would a healthy person do in this situation? Because I see myself as a healthy person. So I'm going to act like that best version of me. Okay, a healthy person would have this instead of this. They would eat this and this. They would have an eating window. They would do that, right? So you have to start implementing those little tiny little things that are too small to fail, and then picking one thing at a time. Okay, I've decided that I'm going to take 2 30-minute walks throughout the week. Just 2 30-minute walks. Maybe it's 1. Maybe it's a 10-minute walk. Maybe you need to lower the scale a little bit. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter your starting point. It doesn't matter how embarrassing, quote unquote, people think your starting point is. That's your starting point. And you have to be honest enough to start there and move from there. Because then if you're like, oh, it's too embarrassing, I would never do that. I can't. Then you're never going to start. And you're always going to be the person that you are, which is not the person you're capable of being, which is so much more.
Right.
And so you have to break it down to the smallest level possible, right? It's the same thing that Jordan Peterson talks about when he's like, clean your freaking room.
Yeah.
Okay? If cleaning your room is way too daunting, well, how about you put away one sock in the sock drawer? Put one sock where it's supposed to go, and then you're done for the day. And then tomorrow it's 2 socks. Maybe you clean out a whole drawer. Ooh, maybe you make your bed, right? It sounds fucking ridiculous, but it's the truth, because you're taking responsibility at the smallest point possible and then incrementally moving up from there. And then over, like we're talking about, 3 to 5 years, your life is transformed and you are the healthy person that you always knew you were capable of being. You just didn't know where to start, but you fucking started anyways. And now you're cruising, and now you're doing fitness competitions, and you're mountain climbing, or you're doing jujitsu, or you're having a podcast about it because you feel like you're so inclined to tell the whole world how you changed your life, and you want to inspire other people to do it. All this amazing shit can happen. Or you're just living a cool life and you're not telling anyone about it. And you're just fucking crushing it.
Which is great too.
Which is also awesome.
Yeah. I feel like people see others who are successful in fitness and wellness and health, and they think, like you're saying, they think they've been there forever. Like we all started at that moment where we're looking at our bedroom going, fuck, this is a mess, dude. I got to clean this shit up. And you don't want to, and you don't, you just avoid it. Like we've all started there. And it's funny because people will come up to me at the gym. They'll see me doing something like be doing a handstand walk. This happened the other day. And this guy asked me, he said, how'd you learn how to do that? Were you in gymnastics as a kid? And And I'm just like, hell no, dude. I played baseball. Like I'd never been upside down in my life. And he thought I was lying. He's like, how do I start? How do I do it? I'm like, dude, I couldn't even kick up against the wall on my hands. Like, no joke. I had to have two people grabbing my legs, something under my head so I wouldn't fall on my face. And it was, like you said, one, scary, embarrassing, all that stuff. But we all came from that moment of, my room is a fucking mess and I got to clean it up. So if you're somebody who's successful in the health, wellness, and fitness area, you're taking care of yourself, you're feeling good, I think it's always super beneficial to connect with those who aren't and make them understand that nobody starts where we're at. You know what I mean? We all came from that point, and the starting levels are different for everybody, but we all had our starting point for sure. And it gives them a little bit of motivation and comfort knowing that, hey, all right, I got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Well, to that point, that's why I think the gym atmosphere has the potential to be the most supportive atmosphere of all time.
Dude, it's the best.
Every single person working out in that gym was either at one point fat, out of shape, skinny, or just like not in shape. Everyone started at one of those starting points. And now they're doing fucking handstand walks, or squatting 400 pounds, or running 10 miles, or doing 100 push-ups, or being able to do pull-ups, whatever the case may be. That's why, like, when we see a person in the gym and they don't really know what they're doing, they looked a bit confused, they looked a bit out of it, they're trying, help them.
Yeah.
You were that one person. I was this random 14-year-old kid at a Gold's Gym just trying to fucking figure it out, man. Every morning I was there, and people who saw me there every morning, like older guys who were just jacked, would just come help me. They'd be like, hey, you should tweak this in your stance. Like, why don't you pull this and squeeze this and keep your chest? And I was like, thank you. They're like, yeah, we see you, dude, every morning at 5:30. Why wouldn't we help you? And then over time, I'm like 16, 17. Cool. I got it figured out. I get to college. Now I have strength and conditioning knowledge because we had a coach and other guys on the team. It's like, if you see someone in the gym struggling, help them. They're just trying to get better. Yeah. Like, maybe they watched a few YouTube videos. Maybe they, maybe they didn't. Maybe they're just like, I'm just going to fucking go to the gym.
I'm just going to try.
That's awesome, because they just decided to show up. Because it is intimidating to go do something around people you don't know and something you don't know how to do. But then those same people in the gym started at the same spot that you're in, and we can be supportive in that environment, not look at them and be like, "What's this dude doing? Why do he wear a shirt with no sleeves? He's so skinny." Because he doesn't know what he just thought that's what the culture was. So he just walked in and he's trying to figure it out and be like, "Sweet, dude, that's a sweet tank. You want me to help you with that spot? What's your lift like? Like, what days are you working out? Like, do you have a plan? Are you writing things down? Like, are you taking some protein? Cool, man. Let me help you out." Like, there's nothing there but just like some love and kindness and understanding that we started at that same point as well. Yeah. And that sort of gym atmosphere, gym environment can be extrapolated into any sort of environment that you're in when it comes to our health.
Yep. Dude, that's why I love the gym that I go to now. And I think part of that too, if you're feeling like you're stuck in your progress, changing your gym can be huge too, because it's a big environment change, different people that you get to meet. If you feel stuck and in a rut, maybe you're working out at home only, go to a gym for sure. Any type of gym, doesn't matter what type. A CrossFit gym doesn't have to be anything like that where it's community based. I go up to people all the time in my 24-hour fitness style gym and just introduce myself, because you see them every day and you're making eye contact with the same people. What are we doing here? So yeah, go up, introduce yourself and chat, have a conversation. Hey, what are you working on? You got a competition coming up? Are you doing bodybuilding? What is it? And you'd be surprised as to what you learn about people, how open they are. Somebody just had to like break the ice. You know what I mean? And for me and you who feel comfortable in the gym, I feel like that's our responsibility to do that, because the newbies or people who are kind of just getting back into it or whatever, or maybe they've been there for a long time, but they just don't feel as confident. We have to be the ones to open those doors up, man, and be more conversational and just willing to help out.
Absolutely. And your health obviously goes along with your mental health, your physical health. All of that stuff is combined. Things you do for your physical health are going to help your mental health. Things you do for your mental health are going to help your physical health. It's bi-directional. It's an integrated, connected system. It's all one. They're not separate. I say this a lot when it comes to our mental health, but if you just put health and well-being all in one, if you don't start taking care of your health, mental health, physical health, your whole health now, you will absolutely be forced to at some point in your life, be forced to, because you're in dire need or you're in a crisis. Let's not get to that crisis. Let's do some work now, because life is too unpredictable and too uncontrollable, and things will happen and you will get sick, and someone in your family, something will happen, right?
Something will happen. Yep.
No matter if you take care of yourself the best way possible, something will happen. So let's do it anyways, so we can armor ourselves mentally and physically and emotionally and spiritually to handle that stuff as best we possibly can by making time for it. And it's really making time for ourselves. That's what we're doing. We're making time for ourselves because we're treating ourselves like someone we're responsible for taking care of. That's what we're doing.
Well, and when you say armor it, man, there's tons of data that backs that up from the medical field too. Whether you're in a car accident or you get sick with a virus or some type of bacteria, those who are more physically fit have better outcomes. You know, if you have more skeletal muscle on your body and you get hit by a car or you're in a car accident, you're going to fare a lot better than somebody who has never lifted a weight or worked out. It's science, man. You got the skeletal muscle being almost like an insulator to your actual skeleton and all the neural tissue and whatnot. It's going to protect you. And then same goes when you get sick with some type of virus or bacteria or other illness. If you have a higher VO2 max, a better respiratory and cardiovascular system, you will bode better in the long run. You have better outcomes. It's proven day in and day out. You see it in the hospital. Those who are healthy, when they come in, they have something happen to them in their life, they usually pull through a lot easier, a lot quicker than those who don't have that base layer of health and wellness.
From the doctor himself, baby.
Dude, it's true. It's so true, man. So
there's 100%.
I mean, there's stories like people will come in who work out. They're not like competitive weightlifters or anything like that, but they lift weights. There was a lady, I remember this story a couple of years ago. She got in a car accident. Her neck was sore for a couple of weeks. She went in, did like a virtual visit, I think, or an urgent care thing. And they just said, oh, yeah, I think you got some whiplash. And they did like a concussion protocol, no concussion or anything like that, and sent her home. A couple of weeks later, she was still sore, still really hurting, like sleeping, didn't feel great. Went into the ER and they did a quick x-ray and they found out she had a broken vertebrae in her neck. And the only thing holding it together was how much muscle mass she had. And one of the doctors even said to her, if you didn't have those muscles the way you have them developed, you know, you could be paralyzed because that vertebrae is pushing up against your spinal cord. Who knows what would happen? You know, you'll never know. But we do know that her being strong and healthy and fit had some benefit there for sure. And that's just one anecdotal case, of course, but you see it over and over and over again in the hospital.
Yeah. That same sort of story I've seen a lot in wrestling, actually.
Oh, really? Because
there's obviously a lot of neck, head injuries and sort of falling in amateur wrestling and in professional wrestling. And so,
yeah,
those guys have prevented themselves from very serious things from happening because they've built up this sort of neck muscles that they've trained over and over and over and over again. Not that it's like this cure-all preventative thing. You're never going to get injured, but
yeah,
you're more, you're armoring yourself much more than you would have if not. So,
yeah. I mean, when you're
last
sick,
one, Matt, are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it. What is it?
Lifelong learner. If you're not growing, you're dying. I mean, this just sums up all six in one, basically.
Yeah, man. Lifelong. I mean, that's why I'm back in school, right? You know?
Yeah.
I want to learn something new. And nothing against those who are reading nonfiction. I think reading anything is beneficial. Reading and comprehending and practicing that skill is huge, but developing a skill, like we talked about earlier, diving into a subject a little deeper, you know, and lifelong learner. I feel like let's apply that to your relationships. Learn more about the people that you're connected to. Take time to learn one new thing about somebody every day that you didn't know before and commit that to your memory. Don't just go through the motions, right? But try and apply it to all aspects of your life for sure.
Absolutely. I think this one just boils down to being curious.
Yeah.
you know, being curious about the people you spend time with, being curious about yourself, being curious about the things that you think are interesting but haven't decided to look into them yet. Like you're super interested in sports cars or sports cards or turtles. Get curious about it, learn about it, read some books. Like I think there's such an emphasis on like turning your side hustles and your hobbies into $6,000 businesses,
passive income, baby.
All this stuff. And it's like, yes, that's great.
That's great.
Right. If that's you, if you need that, if you want that, that's great. But have a hobby and a passion just to have it, man.
Yeah, man.
Just to like, you went through your work day, you're like sitting on the couch with your wife or your girlfriend or your brother or your friend, whoever it is, and they're like reading a book that's firing them up. And you're just like sitting there, well, what should I do? Read the book that you want to read. Like, what are you interested in? Like, what fires you up? What gets you going? Again, you don't have to turn that into this passive income where you can make a YouTube channel and tell the world about it and have all this. Like, if you want to be an entrepreneur, that's great. I am. So it's coming from a weird place.
Yeah.
But if you just want to read about turtles because they fire you up and it relaxes you and it's like keeps you curious and you're interested in it, and then you can like have a sweet dinner conversation with your buddy who you're going to get barbecue with tomorrow, and you want to tell him about turtles, and he loves you, so he's like fired up that you're fired up about this thing that you're fired up about, and now everyone's fired up, and it's like the atmosphere is crazy just because you like, decided to go read a book about turtles or watch this like documentary on National Geographic about how cool they are. Like, I don't know, man. That's just like, I just think people get shied away from it because they feel like they have to turn everything into income.
Yeah, they do, for sure. Or people shame them too into like, if they're not doing that, they're like, why aren't you reading a book? Like, you should be reading, man. Like, you know, when you get to that point where you are fired up about something and you're reading and you're studying or you're interested in a subject, don't make other people who aren't there yet feel bad about it. You know what I mean? Because they're sucked into the system too, you know, like you said, the phone is designed to keep you coming back, the internet, the YouTube, whatever, it's all designed for that. So don't make them feel bad about being in that place. Help them out, give them some encouragement, maybe show them a subject that you started with that you like, and that might be interesting to them, you know? So especially if you're close with those people, I mean, there's no space for that to make them feel bad about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Just learn whatever you can. Like I would go home and I would write down 5 things that you're interested in or that you really loved when you were a kid that you just kind of forgot about.
Yeah.
And go read one article about it, or watch a YouTube video about it and see what kind of sparks come up. Like, do you get the sort of gut reaction? Like, ooh, like, I don't know if I like that as much anymore. You know, like I loved Power Rangers when I was a kid. Loved them. Probably why I became a professional wrestler, so I could be a superhero / supervillain.
Hell yeah.
But when I watch Power Rangers now, it doesn't fire me up as much, you know. But when I watch like a Marvel movie, I get pretty fired up.
Yeah.
I get pretty fired up still. And so I'll listen and learn about that stuff. But like, what is it for you? Like, I've loved baseball since I was 3, so I'll listen and learn about that every second of my life. But there was a period in there where I hated baseball because I was resentful about it. Yeah. Now you have to sort of come to terms with your own feelings about some of these things, but revisit the things that excited you, that got you fired up. Make time for those things. It's just like making time to get to know yourself, making time for your health. This is part of your health because this is who you are. And if you're doing more things that excite you, you're doing more things for your health and for you. So I think that's important.
And like you said, sometimes there doesn't have to be some side hustle goal or some long-term goal with some of this stuff, you know, because like you said, you know, you felt resentful about baseball at one point and then you'd love it. I had those same feelings too with all sports in general. Like there was a period of time where I was not interested in the NFL or the MLB or any of that. And then now I come back and I'm always reading about it all the time. I'm not making money off that. There's no goal there, but it's fun and interesting to me. So yeah, there doesn't always have to be some big overarching purpose to your learning. Sometimes you just need to learn to be curious and, you know, see where it takes you.
Exactly. Just get curious and see where it takes you. That's perfect.
Health and well-being. Do you ever notice when you're working out a lot, you want to eat better? The foods you want to eat are quality foods. And then let's say you just miss a few days and then all of a sudden you're craving Chick-fil-A and all these no knock on Chick-fil-A, but it's so weird how fast it happens, at least for me. If I'm not working out or if I missed a few days, then all of a sudden all I want to do is crush some of those more unhealthy foods.
Yeah, I mean, I just know how they make me feel too. Like if I'm going to put all this time and energy and effort into trying to get better at jiu-jitsu and my body, my craft, my mind, I want to nourish myself in the best way possible. But I also I have a sweet tooth. I like having dessert. And so it's sort of tapering that, finding a balance in between that, like an 80-20 rule almost, but it's not, being so strict and deliberate and like restricting yourself only creates you to break out of those restrictions once you kind of fall a little bit short.
Yeah.
But if you're just like, oh, okay, maybe I'll just get some Chick-fil-A today, and you don't have to have a reason behind it. You're not like, okay, if I have Chick-fil-A today, I'm going to go run 600 miles tomorrow because that's the only way it'll get burned off. You're just like, hey, I'm just going to have Chick-fil-A today.
Heck yeah.
Because I like it. Now, if you're eating Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, Taco Bell, every single meal, every single day, that's a different situation. And we need to talk more deeply about that. But if for the most part, you're nourishing yourself with real foods, and then you're like, oh, I feel like having a little donut this morning. That's cool. And you don't make it a habit. And then, all that stuff. But
build it in, build that space in, kind of like the free play space. You got to build in a little free play for the diet too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And trying new things and exploring new restaurants. That's fun because you're usually doing it with people that you love. And you're like, did you like that? Did you like this? Should we come back? Like, well, you want to try something new? Ooh, maybe I'll try this like octopus dish. That sounds interesting. Did you like it? And it was a bit slimy for me. Cool.
Wait, have you actually tried octopus?
No, I haven't. No, wait. Oh. Yes, I have. My old roommate in Philadelphia, I think, made it once.
That sounds awful, but
he was a magical chef. So it tasted like pretty good, but it's not something that I would probably eat regularly. And I don't know how many places serve octopus.
Yeah. How do you catch an octopus anyway?
Probably wonderful. That's a good question.
Probably in a net. We should do some reading.
We should do some reading.
So bad. It's funny you say octopus. I saw some video on Instagram about it the other day. Some guy was diving and the octopus was like petting him.
No way.
Yeah, they have, I guess, like some type of emotional connection sometimes. It's weird.
Wow, that seems pretty cool.
Wild. So don't eat them, Aaron.
Excuse me. Man. Wow. Okay. Well, maybe we got to get an octopus expert on this podcast.
I don't know. Yeah. You have all different types of guests, so you could squeeze it in there.
Well, I'm trying to get our friend Alex Oberly on so he can talk finances.
Oh, dude, that'd be great. I'd love that episode. Have you ever done an episode where you have multiple people, where you do like a 3 or 4 person call?
Yeah, I've done a couple of those about dating. I've done a few of those.
Okay.
But I'd like to get like a panel of SDSU boys on so we could just shoot the shit for a couple hours.
Oh yeah, that'd be sweet, dude. Yeah. That'd be a blast. What would be better is if we could do it in person though. Like we need to get a reunion going or something in the fall where we're in the same spot.
I would love to work with a couple guys to get a reunion for us. I think that would be amazing.
I'd like to go back to South Dakota, like go back and visit the stomping grounds, dude. Walk around campus and see what's going on.
Let's do it.
Heck yeah. Get some new gear so I'm not wearing a 1996 Majestic.
Dude, that looks good though, and it still fits me, so it's all good.
It is a nice piece. I'm not gonna lie. It was worth the $65 or whatever they made us pay for back in the day.
Yeah, that's so funny. But thanks for going through that Twitter thread with me. I think that was awesome.
Dude, yeah, that was fun. That was really productive. I like that a lot.
You have any closing thoughts, things you really want to say, comments, concerns, anecdotes, funny stories?
No, man, I don't got anything going on right now. Yeah, I'm going to go work out. We got NFL football today. We got playoffs. It's going to be a good day. What about you?
Yeah, this is pretty much it. I'm going to have some baseball practice in a bit. But just podcasting away, baby.
Yeah, baby. If there's one thing I'll leave you with, my new billboard, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
We talk about this a lot at work, me and my boss, a couple other people, where we're trying to navigate like what we should do, how we should attack certain situations. We're always looking at like legal implications, HR implications, all this stuff, right? And sometimes you can get so bogged down into like these algorithms and matrices about how you're supposed to approach certain situations with employees and people and interactions that I always come back to just do the right thing, right? So simple. Just do the right thing. If you're always working to do the right thing, you're never going to go wrong. You're never going to end up in any trouble. You're not going to end up in a bad place. People are going to respect you for sure, respect your decision making. And two, you're going to spend more time valuing the things you're doing, right? Your time is going to be used wisely. Do the right thing. That's that thing I'll leave you with.
Perfect. I want to end this episode exactly like that. Do the right thing.
Do the right thing, baby.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for coming on. Look forward to round 3.
Hey, heck yeah. Thanks, Aaron.
Cheers.
Cheers.
What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to that episode. If you enjoyed it, click here for another full-length episode of the podcast. And please don't forget to subscribe. But most importantly, please take good care of yourselves and others. And I'll see you next time. Lots of love.